All right, ITU Telecom World is currently taking place right here in Durban, and one of the technologies that have been taking place are technologies for purposes of development and how to create smart cities in Africa. And joining me right now is Dr. Cosmas Zavazava, who is with the ITU. Dr. Zavazava is originally from Zimbabwe. He will talk to me about that topic. Hello, and thank you very much for joining me.
Thank you very much.
Now, Dr. Zavazava, why is it important to use technologies for purposes of development?
Well, primarily when technologies are developed, for them to be meaningful, they have to serve people. So we talk about technology with a human face. And our aim is to make sure that we serve people in terms of their economic well-being, the social well-being, and for any other purpose. So particularly when you look at small and medium business enterprises, which we are promoting here at Telecom, we are saying that we have to engage in e-commerce. And now we are in the world of big data, on the basis of which business decisions are being made. So we try to empower small and medium enterprises, but also to look after communities and making sure that we have not only smart cities, but smart communities, smart cities, and also smart countries. And in terms of the African continent, because you have an Africa that's largely been an Africa that consumes technologies that come from elsewhere. What kind of developments are taking place in the African continent? There is a lot of innovation which is taking place, and there are incubator projects. You will know here in South Africa, of course, we have got a lot of huge initiative which is taking place, but also if you look at countries like Kenya, and I could say probably in most of the countries there is an initiative to groom, because Africa has got a population or demographic dividend. The majority of the population is very young, and the uptake of technology is quite huge. So we have a great opportunity to embrace technology, and it is happening right now. You will see even young girls are being engaged, and they are taking up science subjects, which is a good thing.
When you then talk about Africa being very young, the complaint that's come from those young people in very many countries is that the leaders are old. Do those leaders then understand the needs of the young people? Do they help those young people?
Well, I think there is a great political will. When you look at what is happening in terms of technological development, and now I lead a department in ITU which deals with the statistics, and our statistics indicate that all the countries in Africa are making great progress, because traditionally around year 2000 we had a huge gap between Africa and the rest of the world. But right now, and you know that out of the 48 countries so defined by the UN as the least developed countries, 30 of them are in Africa. But those 30 countries are making immense progress. Many of them are reaching about 80% penetration in terms of teledensity, or the number of telephone lines per 100 inhabitants. What is still lagging behind, of course, is mobile broadband, which also is a way of delivering internet connectivity. But in terms of leadership, I think there is a realization that the only way out is to embrace technology and to use it, and use it responsibly. So the young generation has got a lot to look up to.
Earlier I spoke to the executive director of the regulatory authority in Uganda. Yeah. We spoke a bit about how social media gets blocked, especially in times of dissent and protest. Yeah. The Postal and Telecommunications Authority of Zimbabwe, for example, POTRAS, has been known to do this in the past as well in terms of protest and dissent. Sure. It's been known to happen in the DRC. It's happened in Mozambique, for example. Yeah. How do you then ensure that when they block social media, when they block the internet, it does not stifle the value chain, it does not stifle that development?
Well, in terms of how content is managed, it is not the responsibility of the International Telecommunication Union. We provide the pipes and the waves, and make sure that we establish standards for technological development and deployment. And we support countries in formulating policy, the legal framework, and regulatory frameworks. There are two sides to the coin. You can have a table knife which can be used as a murder weapon, And that is not what we seek to have.
But
so
do you engage those countries that are seen to, because you support them in coming up with regulation.
Yes.
But then what if they use other regulations and other laws in order for them to sort of block that innovation that you are trying to support them to have?
Well,
do you engage them at all?
Innovation is in terms of making sure that the technology is available and the technology is affordable. But the use of the technology, of course, is up to every nation state. We are not the police in terms of how the decision making is made, because the UN has got many other agencies that deal with the various aspects of this issue. So we leave our sister organization. For example, issue of education is UNESCO, human rights is another institution, and so forth. So ITU is there to primarily create standards, make sure that the spectrum is allocated effectively, and making sure that we support countries to create an enabling environment so that investment can take root and people can have free access to the internet and also to other information and communication technologies.
And in terms of that innovation you're talking about, what are some of the shining stars?
What are some of
the shining stars in Africa?
Well, South Africa, I'm standing on the ground here. And you know the president is a big fan for the fourth industrial revolution. And that is a great thing. There are many other countries that my country, Zimbabwe, is also deploying a lot of technology in terms of broadband and optical fiber to the house. Rwanda is doing wonders. Kenya, you know the M-Pesa. They are the founding fathers of the M-Pesa, and it is broadly upheld across the globe. But there are many countries. I would say that we are at the dawn of the breakout of new technologies that are easy to embrace. And if you see here at Telecom, you see young people who are showcasing, and they include young girls as well, who are showcasing their innovation. So that we do support. And I think Africa, instead of people talking about challenges, we should be talking about insurmountable opportunities, particularly for the private sector.
You keep on emphasizing the girls and the women's participation in coming up with these new innovations. Why is that important? Why is it important to you?
It is very important to me because I'm born of a mother and I have sisters. So I know how important and what critical roles that they play. But also because Africa has got the largest number of the least developed countries, where 70% of the population lives in rural communities, and the majority of those happen to be women and children. And we have to integrate them, we have to make sure that we mainstream them in the activities of the economy and also social activities, and nobody should be left behind.
All right, so Dr. Cosmas Zavazava, thank you very much.
Thank you very much for having me.
All right, so Dr. Cosmas Zavazava there is with the ITU, and he is actually originally from Zimbabwe, from the African continent, talking to us about how technology can actually be used for purposes of development in Africa. We will have more for you later on in the day, right here in Durban at the iNkosi Albert Luthuli Convention Center. Stay with us.